What's going on, everybody? My name is Leon. This is my testimony. So I've kind of known God my entire life. Like, I actually remember being in church like a year old, 2 years old, something like that, on my father's shoulder, worshiping God. And I remember being like 5 years old on a swing set at the sundown, trying to sing a song to God that I just made, and I felt like it was in my heart that I wanted to sing. I always knew God was real, and I've had spiritual encounters and many dreams since I was a kid. I even remember crying myself to sleep, praying for my family when I was 6 years old, and I remember like the specific details that I prayed for. And when I was 8, I moved from San Jose, California. I'm from California. I moved from San Jose, California to Gilroy, California. And I went to church. It was the Sunday before school started. And I remember giving my life to Christ there. And my logic was, God is the good guy. Good guys always win. I watched enough movies to know that. And I want to be the winner because I'm not a loser. So I gave my life to Christ there, expecting God to come down and speak to me and be on this like white horse and fire and all these cool things, and then that didn't happen. So I was very disappointed, actually, as an 8-year-old kid. And then the next day when I went to school, I got in a fist fight. Everybody I met treated me terribly when I was not used to that. Like, it was just crazy. Like, my life flipped upside down, and the enemy kind of moved in and attacked me, basically, knowing, like, looking back now, that's what happened. And so from there, my parents eventually, after a few years of taking us to church, they stopped going to church. There was a lot of, emotional things I was going through, depression I was going through, and I got exposed actually very early to pornography. I was, I think, 9 or 10 years old. I think it was 9 years old, and somebody brought like this coin that had like a naked woman on it and a magazine, and like they gave me the names to a website, and I started exploring. And so I had an addiction to pornography and masturbation since I was like about 9 or 10. And going through that, feeling super guilty, super heavy, I started having these fits of rage. I started getting super violent with my brothers, to the point where my brothers would actually jump me so I would stop. I remember even in school having fights if people said the smallest thing to me. I threw a trash can at one of my best friends. I got pulled into the office for that. I remember in high school, I brought a taser to school, and I would shake somebody's hand and then tase them in the armpit, or go to the bathroom when somebody was using the urinal, and I would tase them on the urinal just for my own pleasure, because I was in so much pain with all the emotional things going on at home, violence in my family. I couldn't trust anybody. I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. I've had traumas where like friends would, like, not even friends, just kids in school would come up behind me and start attacking me. So I would never have my back like not against the wall. No one was allowed behind me in my mind. And so I grew up with all this paranoia and all that other stuff. And every time I was in a group of people, I always felt like I don't belong here. And so I would withdraw, and I would hear the voice of God tell me, like, I need you in my word. And so I would seek to read the Bible from like 14 years old by myself, reading about Solomon and his wisdom, or David and his righteous ways of ruling and worshiping God, and all the blessings that these people were getting, and the words of Jesus and how he just talked to people, and the love that I was lacking. And so I was so fascinated by Jesus, and I kept continuing to search for him, while at the same time drinking alcohol, smoking weed, and bumping Tupac while I'm reading my Bible. And so, man, I went through a lot, and I went through a lot of things with relationships. I was dating atheists and Jehovah's Witnesses and people that were Muslim, Buddhist. Like, I loved women because like I felt like I didn't have closeness with my father at the time growing up, and there was so much emotional damage. I felt like it was safer to go to a woman for emotional things, and everything just was screwed up in my relationships. So I would go from girl to girl, and I ended up leaving California to move in with a girl right before COVID-19 happened in 2020, and we ended up breaking up in Texas. I left. I slept on the floor of an apartment for 3 weeks. nothing, no food, no money. And I ended up living with drug dealers, going back to heavier stuff, doing shrooms and things like that to mask the immense amount of pain. And I was mad at God too, because I'm like, God, I know your glory and your wonders, and I've experienced you on this massive level, and I'm so upset that you're letting me be through here. But what really, I think, kind of got things to change was I started fasting and praying, and I heard his voice more clearly, and I slowed down and spent more intimate time with him, because I was like, I have nobody. I have nobody but you, God. So I really got to fellowship with God and really get to know his heart. And then my heart started changing, and I started having peace. And from there, God just called me to go and literally leave where I was, quit my jobs, visit people in other states. All of a sudden, people start donating to me. I don't even know how it happened. I didn't even ask, but God always provided and took me back to California. And I remember encountering God at one point where I actually experienced his light, like his presence. I don't know if I died. I don't know if I was taken up to heaven. I just know that I saw something radical, and I felt exposed. I saw, like, I am unworthy, I'm a sinner. God, like, what do I do? And I heard God say, save souls and worship me, and your faith will be more radical than you can even comprehend. And then I was like, okay. And so from then on, I just really sought him. And now I've been experiencing miracles on the daily, people getting healed, people walking from being in wheelchairs for 7 or more years, people with cancer, multiple sclerosis, COPD, and God has called me to the ministry of healing and deliverance and casting out demons and sharing his love and his heart with people. So I encourage every one of you to really seek him, to trust him, to know that he's a provider and that he loves obedience more than sacrifice, that he loves you and died for you personally just for the chance that you would say yes back to him. That's our God who loves you. So that's my testimony.